Hello and welcome to the Heart of the Matter. I'm Omotayo.
And my name is Dipo Ayo Adeosi. Welcome.
Oh.
Yes.
Today on the episode, I'm really excited about this episode. We have an amazing guest whose name is
Karina Karunwi. And she's going to be talking to us about body, goals, sort of like body shaming as well, some of her struggles, just trying to balance like looks, identity, that sort of thing, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Hi, Karina.
Hi guys. Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
I feel like you're already nice and warmed up.
I am.
We've been chatting quite a bit.
Nice juice.
Behind
Nice juice.
Yeah, all right. So, you talk a lot about body image.
Yes.
And I know that it's very personal to you. And I just need to kind of give us the story of how that came about and what your struggles. Because the truth is, you are so beautiful.
Thank
you
you.
have such a presence. Like when you walk in, you have a presence.
Oh,
You're
thank you so
charismatic.
much.
And it's like to see that and then to imagine what your journey has been to get to the point where you can own yourself so comfortably and so confidently. So we just kind of want to go down that journey and to find out like more about it. So at what point did you first ever think anything negative about your body?
I like that question.
Yeah.
So it might sound a bit crazy, but it started when I was 7, which is very young. And I remember looking down at my thighs and being like, because, okay, let me track back. So I have 3 sisters, amazing sisters. One of them is obsessed with Barbies. Like, she has a serious Barbie fixation. Low-key up to now. She's like 20-something.
Right.
Low-key.
Okay.
So we had lots of Barbies, and I was 7, and I would, obviously play with the Barbies. And I looked down, and I was like, my thighs are so big compared to Barbies. And this is a doll that's like this. Obviously, they're big compared to a Barbie, but back then I couldn't really reason. So it started off then, and people saying things like, she's a bit chubby, or you're gaining weight, and obviously puberty came, and with puberty, your body changes, which is meant to do. We had so many talks at schools, at church. My mom, who is very hands-on with us, had been like, your body's changing, it's fine, but I still didn't really see women who looked like me on TV, in books, music videos, whatever it was. So that was when it began to internalize that, okay, my body isn't okay, my body isn't enough, something is wrong. And I need to basically watch what I eat so I don't gain too much weight. Yeah, so it was when I was 7, trickled on to when I was about 14.
But then, did you share this with your parents? Did your siblings know? Did your parents know?
The thing is, back then I kind of thought it was normal, like everyone felt this way.
Right.
So I didn't really see it as an issue to actually share, like a bit like, oh, mommy, I'm going through this. But obviously I'll just be a bit like, oh, my older sister as well, we would talk about these things with my mom about, how, I feel like I'm fat and she'd be like, no, you're beautiful. Obviously, like you are stunning the way God created you. Like you've been perfectly and so detailed and wonderfully made.
Right.
But you know how someone can tell you something, but your head is like, okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned that you have 3 sisters.
Yes.
Are they older than you?
1 is older, 2 are younger.
2 are younger.
Yes.
So did you see a difference in your body between yourself and your sisters? Were they slimmer? That sort of thing?
Yeah. So how do I explain this? We got a lot of comparison, first of all, as many sisters do.
Right.
So my older sister, she's like extremely curvy, and that obviously took some time to develop because she has to go through a chubby stage or whatever, but now her body is banging, honestly. My younger sister, she's quite slim, so her frame is quite small, she's quite petite, and then the youngest one is more like me, broad shoulders, bit more curvy. So I did see a difference, and because my mom she still is quite on the slim side. If she walks into the room now, you think she's my sister.
Right.
She's literally very slim. She looks extremely young. She's beautiful. And I think that comparison kind of, also infiltrates in the sense that, you're not like this person, or, aside from also comparison with my sisters, comparison with like your older self and a new self that's budding. So younger, I was a bit chubby. Then when I was about like 7 to about 13, I was quite slim. So when puberty then began to really kick in, I began to gain weight, and people would be like, Karina, what's happening? Are you really getting fatter? Watch it. So what? You know how people can just talk. So I think it was the up and down with
is
myself,
natural.
exactly, which is meant to happen, up and down with myself, and also the comparison with like the women around me. Those are also factors which then played a role in my body image. Yeah.
So it seems like there's a lot of like emphasis with food in terms of people's comments toward you and toward your body. Did you then, what was actually the relationship with food for you? So was it, because a lot of people talk about, you know, changing their diets, and that sort of has an impact on how their bodies are and things like that. So did you actually have any issues with food at all?
I wouldn't say issues. I've always been a sweet tooth. I mean, who doesn't like ice cream? I find it weird people say they don't like ice cream. I'm just like, so I love sugar. Like, you know, I've always been a sweet tooth, milkshakes, all of that. And then when puberty began to kick in, I realized that I couldn't eat whatever I wanted, like before. Like, you know, it reflected on my body. So the relationship with food then began to be a bit like, okay, maybe I shouldn't eat as much, or maybe I shouldn't eat during certain times of the day. And then, of course, the diet culture in general. We always hear, like, this woman's on a diet, or I think back then it was, like, Atkins and some California diets, and this, it was always diets with, you know, something. So I think that then began to really seep into how I treated food. And it became a thing of, instead of me, or we don't really hear much about, or back then, we didn't really hear much about healthy eating habits. You know, change up your diet. It was more like diets instead of just
supposed to eat better.
A wholesome, you know, plant-based, whatever it was, diet, more veggies, more fruits. So I kind of reasoned that since me eating certain things made my body change, I can still eat them, but I just won't keep them down. So that's when the eating disorder then kicked in.
So you're talking about your relationship with food now. How did it cross over from, like you said, I'm just not going to eat certain things, to that, and then how did you deal with it, this eating disorder? So
I think the crossover really happened in secondary school. I went to an all-girls secondary school, and being around more women, you know, the discussions come up in terms of like, I want to look like a certain way, you know, tiny waist, you know, like like you said, curves in the right places, like you know, big butt, big boobs, look like a woman, feminine, and that was what was labeled as feminine. So around the time the crossover started was when I was the cafeteria prefect. So I was, you know, obviously I'd go to the cafeteria, I'd do the prayer, I would, you know, make sure everybody gets their food. And I began to realize that I couldn't control my weight. Like I just didn't know how to, like nothing I was doing was working. I wasn't really doing anything. I didn't know what to do. So the crossover, it wasn't like a certain day, but it was just a period of time where I was just like, you know what, let me just take matters into my own hands. And if I'm being honest, I had heard about like eating disorders on TV, like TV shows, like, you know, I think back then like One Tree Hill, the OC, that kind of thing. And it was very much glamorized, which I have to be honest, it was very much romanticized, like seen as almost as cool. And then there were apps like Tumblr back then on social media that was, you know, although things can be good, but they can also put out very unhealthy, you know, images of what you should be doing as a person, you know, food, whatever. So that crossover can happen around that time from all these outward influences and also this battle within myself, like I'm not enough. So it was around that time the eating disorder began to develop, and it started off very slow. And that's what I think is very important to realize, that mental health and eating disorders can literally seep in with the tiniest things very gradually. And as they're seeping in, there's a lot of shame. And obviously you don't tell anybody, it's a secret. You're just like, it's my own little thing and whatever. So it was around those few years that it just kind of went from seeping in to then blowing up into an actual lifestyle that I was living. Not keeping food down and just not telling anybody about it. And then the repercussions were, yes, I did lose weight. And again, with the outward opinions, people were like, Karina, you're losing weight, so you're looking so good. You're looking, what are you doing? Keep it up, keep it up. It became the praises. And it was like, in my head, it was a flip from people saying, you're so fat, you're so fat, you're so fat, to then getting their validation and being like, okay, I'm doing something right. Now they're saying, oh, now you're beautiful. Now you are enough. Now you look good. So that kind of then propelled that and pushed that even more, and kind of made me feel like, okay, I am finally doing something right. Little did I know that I was hurting myself so deeply. Yeah.
How long did that go on for?
The eating disorder?
Yeah.
8 years.
For 8 years?
8 years in total. 8 years that no one knew.
Wow.
And even up now that I've come out with my story, my mom was like, how could she have missed this? Like, people begin to feel guilty. It's like, no, it's literally a mental disorder that you begin to learn how to lie and how to cover up so well. Nobody could have ever found out. So 8 years, I had the eating disorder. Yeah.
And do you, because this is, I mean, I think even in telling the story, I think there's something so powerful about that, because there's a lot of issues, mental health issues that we encounter in Nigeria that we just don't even sort of acknowledge as issues, you know, because bulimia, you know, or anorexia or anything like that, it's so far removed from us in terms of like things we acknowledge. So, I mean, did you know exactly that was what you were doing in the time when it was happening? Were you able to articulate that in your head as, you know, this is bulimia or whatever?
I don't think at the beginning I was. And I mean, I knew the name bulimia, but I don't think I really kind of registered that it was an eating disorder.
Right.
I just kind of thought, oh, it's something I just do. And whether, I don't really think I thought, I knew it wasn't normal, but it's like something I just do. And I also knew that that word was associated with Western culture.
Right.
So even if in some crazy, you know, moment I was like, let me actually tell somebody. Back then I was thinking, like, they'll literally be like, are you Oimbo? Like, what's this?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It'll be like, where's this coming from? Why? Is it because you're watching TV? Is it because you're trying to be like these girls? So it didn't register how much of an issue it was to me back then, but I knew that it was something I was doing that was wrong, wasn't normal, but it was working. You know, that's how I reasoned it back then in my teenage years.
Sorry, I was just going to ask you about the fact that you mentioned, just taking you back, you mentioned that there weren't any girls you were seeing, any sort of like personalities on TV or in magazines that kind of look like you. I mean, that's a huge factor, because even, you know, in recent times, that's
like
also such a huge,
like
it's a huge issue, you know, because people can associate themselves with other people, then they see that, oh, there's some normalcy to it. But would you say that was the biggest factor of all the things that kind of pushed you into wanting to take matters into your own hand regarding your image?
Honestly, yes. Yes, because then during those ages, you're trying to form your own, I guess, definition of beauty. And you're trying to be beautiful, right? And my standards of beauty that I saw, even if they were black women, they were usually petite. They were quite small. And if they were on the bigger side, you know, the Queen Latifahs, the Jill Scotts and everything, they weren't really portrayed as, oh, this is a beautiful woman.
Right.
And back then, my mind, now I realize that sometimes curvy women are, you know, hypersexualized in terms of like they're there for male consumption. But back then, obviously, I didn't really understand any of that. But then I just saw that women who are beautiful, women who are thriving, they're skinny, they're usually white, they're just, you know, petite, they're light. That's just what it is to be feminine, to be a little woman, you know.
So right, like there's so many things you're touching on that it's just literally taking me back inside myself. And I want us to go from here kind of like to the faith aspect of things. But let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive deeper.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so stay tuned. We will be right back.
I could feel myself falling, like saying, bro, you're falling. Wow, you're falling. This guy, you are actually falling down, oh. This stuff that you see on TV is happening to you. God is real.
Who are you?
Why are you black?
Welcome to the heart of the matter.
The whole world was looking for me.
She called me, she's like, oh my God, Ines, it's God that brought you back. And I just dropped to the floor.
I'm going to dive right into the heart of the matter.
What are your thoughts on Canada?
My thoughts on Canada?
Yeah.
Real random.
I'm really so excited today.
Just a tad. Very passionate about leveling the playing field.
Listening is not the only aspect of communication.
I believe that the solution is from the bottom up. If you don't talk now, you talk later.
There's glory. There's glory.
So let's break it down.
Hey guys, welcome back to Heart of the Matter. It's still Dikbo and Omotayo chatting with Karina about body image.
And I think that kind of leads us smoothly into where faith played a part in your healing process.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as many of us, I was brought up in a Christian home, and I think I was very blessed in the sense that my parents made us understand that faith was not about the religious going to church and everything. It was about the personal relationship with God, right? The very intimate relationship. And I remember when I was, in the depths of the eating disorder, I did feel a lot of guilt. I was just like, I know God doesn't like what I'm doing. Because, I've always heard the body's a temple, and all of that. But I had never really heard of it spoken about. So when I did begin my healing journey, it was something that I was very intentional about speaking with God about. I was like, look, I've been doing this, and I know that you're not condemning me, forgiving me, but I need your help to come out the other side. Because I had began to see serious health repercussions. Like, I hadn't seen my period in 8 months because of it. It was getting to a place where, like, I would cough and I would taste blood in my mouth. So I knew that I had done some serious damage. And I was like, look, aside from healing me physically, I need you to step in and heal me mentally in the way I see things, my mindset. And I'm really grateful because God showed up in ways that, when I was really struggling, literally in moments I was really struggling, he would either bring up a distraction or lead me to a verse that just reminded me and assured me that, look, you're not alone in this journey, you're not alone in this healing process. I'm here with you. And even though I hadn't at that time heard of anybody's faith story in terms of an eating disorder or mental disorder, I knew that God was there with me because he would speak with me. He gave me so much peace. And it was just a very intimate journey that I wasn't doing by myself. And first of all, it was a case of after, I decided to stop the eating disorder, or not stop it, but stop doing what I was doing. I realized that I couldn't just be like, okay, switch it off today, we're done, we're good. It was more of a thing that I had to really rewire the way I thought. And that verse, renewing your mind, it came into play heavily because I then began to say, okay, I'm going to do this a healthy way. Go to the gym, eat healthy. But I realized that I was still restricting myself. And I would eat a slice of bread and feel guilty. I'm not even like, oh, I feel bad, but like I would then punish myself in the gym for eating a slice of bread. So faith-wise, I took it to him, and it took time. That's one thing I need to say. Healing from an eating disorder, healing from any sort of body image distortion, it takes time, and it takes unlearning things and then relearning things the way God sees us. Because at the end of the day, he's created me, and he sees me as the woman he sees me to be, not as the woman I am today. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a very intimate journey. It was a very beautiful one of God's redemption and just how loving and present God is in every single situation, no matter what it is. And people don't necessarily associate mental health and eating disorders with God and with our faith. But God doesn't need to be put in a box by us. He doesn't. He's sovereign, and he can step into any sort of situation.
It's like the more you're talking, I promise you, I'm just sitting down here thinking to myself, I feel like every woman I know has an eating disorder in a sense, or has at least the wrong view of what her body looks like. I feel like it's so hard. I know that there are men who struggle with this, with body image as well, but it's so hard for women to be content in their bodies. And I'm just wondering, what kinds of things did you learn in your relearning? Like, what did you take away that you could hold on to? Because what happens with faith in the sense of like going to church and loving God is that you can say, yes, I love God, yes, I believe, yes, I trust God, but then you go right back to what you truly, truly believe. But what tangible things were you able to hold on to and say, okay, do you know what, this thing I'm holding on to for dear life that God has revealed to me about the way he sees me? Like, what do you have any of those that you could share with us?
I think something really tangible was realizing that it was more about wholesome health than anything. It was more about, look, this body that God has blessed me with, I have it for this one lifetime. I need to take care of it. I need to respect it. I need to realize that it's not my own, but it's to his glory. So I think it was the wholesome health aspect, one. Two, it was the literally changing what I see. I'm always talking about unfollowing people on Instagram. And it's not a personal thing, but it's literally just like when you scroll through your feed, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
That we don't realize how deeply ingrained that is. What are you seeing women who look like you? So when I began to then change and restructure what I was seeing, I began to realize that women who look like me, I found them so beautiful. They're just stunning. And especially when they own it. You know what I mean? They own who they are. They own the fact that God doesn't create us in one mold.
Yes.
He doesn't create us in one way of, you know, representation of women, whether men or women. It's diversity.
Different shapes, different colors,
exactly,
different sizes.
Exactly. And that played in with the wholesome health thing, because I then began to explore, okay, what is my body like? What is it like? What does it respond to in terms of when do I feel most alive? What exercises do I enjoy doing? What foods do I, you know, eat over a long period of time? I feel like, okay, I'm my best self. And also in terms of style, I began to really explore my style, and it's been so much fun. Oh my gosh. I'm just like, okay, let me try this.
love it.
Like literally, because I'm just like, I never really used to wear dresses because I'm an engineer. So, you know, I'm thinking practicality, functionality. And I mean, I'm in a dress today because I'm just like,
gorgeous.
Thank you so much. I do it, you know. Thank you. So it's been really exploring that aspect of me and just kind of uncovering that God has made us so multifaceted and different layers of us. And it's a beautiful thing to walk that journey of exploring different sides of you with Him. Because He reveals more and more to you daily. And it's incredible how much He reveals to us when you're literally like, okay, I'm doing this journey with you. I'm not trying to understand it for myself. I'm trying to understand what you have put within me and what you see me as, who you see me as.
Just hearing you talk about it so intentionally is making me kind of sit back and be like, oh, whoa. Because it's not, the fact that I am not overweight does not mean that I'm healthy.
Right.
And it does not mean that I have a healthy relationship with food. And it does not mean that I have a healthy body image. I just look the package, so it's easier for me to hide whatever it is that I may or may not be dealing with. And I find that the reason why I'm trying to point that out is because I feel like there are so many people who are going through that. Everybody wants their waist to be snatched. Everybody wants, you know, like this gym culture is not about, like you said, punishing yourself for eating a slice of bread. A lot of people in this gym culture and this fit fam culture are not doing it because of the health benefits. They're doing it because of the cosmetic benefits and because it's Instagrammable.
For you, did you ever get into any relationships in the period when you had the eating disorder? What is that like now? What are your relationships like now? You know, how do you feel? Confident levels, you know, confidence.
And we're
levels,
also talking about romantic relationships. I just want that to be clear.
Sorry, yes,
before you start
romantic
telling us about
relationships.
Okay.
Not Jesus, the lover of my soul.
Exactly.
No.
As in
I know, right?
Wow. Okay. So during the years of my eating disorder, I was in a couple of relationships, and I realized that I kind of put forward how I looked in the relationship rather than, like, you know, really delving into intimacy. I mean, I was quite young then, so I was trying to form myself, so I really should have been, which is good. Yeah, I put forward more of the physical and like how I looked and, you know, feeling enough in that sense. And then I went on, I mean, I was no longer, you know, in the depths of the eating disorder, but I was still dealing with body image stuff during university. And I was in a few relationships then. And I mean, I felt attractive, I felt good. And more so, I think that was when I realized how important exercise was, because I was like, I'm exercising and I'm looking good, but also for my mental health, I felt good. And I put that forward again. So since really, I mean, the past 2-3 years, I've gained weight and I'm trying to, you know, rediscover and figure out my relationship with my body and everything, hence the style, the eating and all of that, and taking care of myself. And I realized that it switched the way I present myself. Before, it was easy for me, you know, to flirt and just to be like, you know, yes, I'm, you know, look at me, whatever, and not really explore the depths of intimacy of what a relationship could be and how God has designed it to be. And now that I have, you know, I guess switched over to a more healthy body image, I am more intentional about being intimate with people in terms of like really talking about things and really delving deep into who I am as a person. I mean, I still look how I look and I still like how I look, but it's more so showing up as my true vulnerable self. rather than hiding behind a mask of, oh, you know, I look good today, or my waist is snatched, or, you know what I mean? It's more real, it's more authentic. And it's definitely a journey. It's not all the way there. I'm not like every day like, whoa, I look like Beyonce, yes. But it's like, it's a gradual thing, you know what I mean? So I'm way more intentional about showing up as my true self and really being vulnerable in cases where that presents itself. Yeah.
So the thing is, we're in over time.
I know.
It's kind of giving me heart palpitations because there's so much more
So much.
that I would have loved to explore. But just in rounding up again, like I feel like I can take everything you've said and turn it into like a dissertation and just be like, oh, because what you said was essentially at a certain point, it was how you felt about yourself that you put forward. And when you kept saying put forward, I was like, put forward. Like I've never, but it's just that intentionality of like when you're in a relationship, especially trying to make a romantic relationship, but even friendships and all kinds of things, you're putting something forward that you're kind of offering, like this is what I am confident in here. Yes. And then the person then responds or reacts to that persona that you've put forward. Right. And then what you said about like going from that to now it's your real vulnerable self that you're putting forward, as opposed to like, okay, I look this way, it's fine, I'm beautiful, yeah, but that's not the thing that we are basing this relationship on. And I find that so impactful. Like, come on, half of the relationships that we're in, half of the reason why guys are trash or women are this, or half of the reasons is because you've put forward yourself as the guy who has all the money, or the baller, or the babe who is so sexy. And when you then get into the relationship and then you want more than that, it's not coming because you did not, the basis of that was on the things that you were putting forward, which are not your real self. It's just like, we have to round. We gotta go. We actually have to go. But this was so amazing.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. I feel like just like, but yeah, no. So Dikbo, so I'm kind of giving my final remarks. Yes. Sort of. Even though I have more. Let's hold those ones. But what did you get from this conversation?
You know, for me, I think most of all, it's about being honest with yourself. You know, I myself, I'm a very skinny guy, obviously, you know, and over the years, you know, I've had friends who we all were skinny together because we were all like teenagers, but then they've now blossomed into these hunky people, and I'm just here still like stuck in skinny town. But, you know, I had to sit with myself and find reasons why I loved myself the way that I am. Not that I had any overtly serious issues with my image necessarily, but you know, if you don't pay attention to the little things, like you said, it becomes big things. And I think that's what's important. Once you start to notice that your mind is wandering off in a certain direction negatively, you're starting to think about certain things in a certain way, it's time to start to rein it in and start to look for the truth of God in that context and what he says about the issue. And that's, I think, the biggest takeaway from what you said to us today.
I love it. All right, that's all we have for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to follow us on social media. We are at HOTM TV on Instagram and Facebook, and we are HOTM channel on YouTube. Until next time, see you.